Hi fight fans and welcome back to LL Sports TV. Hope you're all doing well. Let's talk in this video about Eddie Hearn. Now, Eddie Hearn, it is my contention, knows fuck all about boxing. Yes, I repeat, Eddie Hearn knows fuck all about boxing. Now, don't get it twisted. Eddie Hearn is what I might call a talented promoter. He has a gift for self-promotion and bluster. That's probably his greatest talent. But in terms of boxing, Eddie Hearn is a complete boxing charlatan. A man who clearly doesn't know a fish hook from a left hook. Why do I say that? Actually, I could name several reasons, but unfortunately I don't have the time in this video to list his many indiscretions. But his latest horror show came at the weekend in the aftermath of Devin Haney's, I've got to say, very impressive performance in beating the big punching Brian Norman Jr. and becoming the three-weight world champion. Now, whatever you may think of Devin Haney personally and his boxing style, no one can dispute that to become a three-weight world champion at just 27 years old is a considerable achievement. But rather than congratulate Devin Haney on his win, and then, if you want, call him out to fight Conor Benn, as Eddie Hearn had previously been doing, instead, Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn chose to lambast and pour scorn over Devin Haney's performance, a fighter he once promoted, by the way. Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn, but mainly Eddie Hearn, disrespected Devin Haney's performance, calling it, amongst other derogatory comments, boring, fighting scared, don't want to fight, all these types of stupid, childish things he said. I've got to say, I found Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn's comments to be disrespectful, to be ignorant, misguided, biased, self-serving, as well as factually incorrect. Now, Devin Haney, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many of the others in the sport, pundits, fans, whoever, YouTube boxing creators, a lot of people said that Haney put on an excellent performance against, let's be honest, what was considered to be a powerful and was a previously undefeated WBO champion, Brian Norman Jr. On the night, Devin boxed superbly. He dropped Brian Norman Jr. in the second round with a really good, clean, straight right hand, followed up by a left hook, or was it the other way around? It could have been a left hook followed by a straight right hand. But anyway, he dropped Brian Norman heavily and went on to dominate Brian Norman Jr., winning a wide decision on the scorecards. A fight that, let's be honest, a lot of people, myself included, you know what I mean, I've got to be honest, I thought Brian Norman Jr. would have beaten Devin that night. So for him to go in to that fight, the underdog in many people's eyes, coming off the back of, let's be honest, a pretty listless and poor performance back in May. So to come in to his next fight and do that to a fighter like Brian Jr., sorry, I thought was a very credible performance. Going into this fight, Brian Norman Jr. was considered by many to be a bit of a boogeyman at welterweight. He was coming off a very high knockout ratio, 22 KO wins in 28 fights. Also coming off a knockout that many people considered to be knockout of the year. So for any technical fighter like Devin Haney, who was moving up in weight, by the way, against a power puncher, to neutralise his threat and win on points the way Devin did, I thought was a very, very good performance. Devin successfully did this by using his jab, utilising very good footwork, and the early knockdown proved that not only can Devin Haney box, but he can punch and be aggressive when he wants to be as well. So for Eddie Hearn to come out with comments like he was fighting scares with his wide eyes open, and I thought that was crass, I thought it was ignorant, and it ignores the very real threat that Brian Norman Jr. presented, as well as the clinical strategy that Devin Haney and his dad and the rest of his team deployed to get the win. So for Eddie Hearn to suggest or imply that somehow Devin Haney should have gone in there with a big punching fighter like Brian Norman, gone toe-to-toe with him just for Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn's entertainment is absolute heresy in my view. And there is also more factors to this. There is what I call the Eddie Hearn promotional agenda against Devin Haney. Now, as we all know, Eddie Hearn is the promoter of Conor Benn. Conor Benn was sitting next to him at the fight at the weekend, and they'd previously said that they were campaigning for a fight with Haney for the world title. Now, in my opinion, Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn's baseless and ignorant comments could be viewed as a promotional tactic to devalue Devin Haney's stock, make him seem less appealing to the fans, and build a narrative for Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn to either negotiate terms to Devin Haney that would not be acceptable, or plainly to just duck Devin Haney. And I say this because, in my opinion, the comments went beyond fair critique and kind of descended into personal and stylistic attacks, which I thought was pretty poor from them. I mean, by beating Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney became a 3-division world champion, as I said earlier, an achievement that puts him in, let's face it, elite company in boxing, and makes him, let's be honest, a major player at the 147-pound division. Now, either Eddie Hearn is deliberately being ignorant of that, or he's displaying an acute lack of boxing knowledge. Or I suspect that Eddie Hearn deep down knows that Devin Haney, on this kind of form that he displayed against Brian Norman Jr., is a serious threat to Conor Benn and would probably outbox Conor Benn and embarrass him. So is Eddie Hearn euphemistically trying to swerve that Devin Haney fight by deliberately being negative about Devin Haney's style? I mean, as I always say, I've said it many times in these videos in the past, there are many ways fighters conduct fights that they don't want to participate in. One is to ask for too much money, effectively price themselves out of the fight. Another is to demean the opponent's style, call him boring, call him all sorts of derogatory names, and say repeatedly, no one wants to see me fight that guy, blah, blah, blah. It's either that, or maybe Eddie Hearn doesn't have any appreciation for boxing. Maybe he's just a boxing casual with a promoter's license. I don't know. But anyway, either way, Eddie Hearn, in my opinion, does himself a real disservice with comments like that. And he's come out of this particular episode looking like a complete clown, in my opinion. Which one is it, Eddie? Does your fighter, Conor Benn, want to win a world title or not? Because, you know, if truth be told, Conor Benn has done absolutely nothing to deserve a world title shot. I'm sorry. I mean, let's look at Conor Benn's career for a brief minute. I mean, he turned pro in 2016, 9 years ago. He came here from Australia. He'd had a very limited amateur career in Australia. So he's been a pro now for 9 years. Now, in that time, 9 years, Conor Benn has never won a bona fide title. He's not even won a Southern Area title. He's not won an English title. He's not won a British title, a Commonwealth title, or a European title, let alone a world title. In fact, the only title that Conor Benn, to my reckoning anyway, has ever won in his 9 years as a pro was a lightly regarded WBA Intercontinental title that he won back in 2018 when he beat a previously unknown Frenchman, Cedric Pinault, in a rematch fight. The first fight, I might add, many people thought that Conor Benn lost that fight and lost it well. So I guess what I'm saying is if you compare Conor Benn's professional record to Devin Haney, it's like night and day. I mean, Devin Haney turned professional in 2015. Now, that's 1 year before Conor Benn. So he's been a pro for 10 years. In those 10 years, Devin Haney has won world titles at 3 different weight classes. 3 different weight classes, the man's become world champion. And in addition to that, during that time, Devin Haney has beaten 8. That's 8 former world champions, and they're good champions as well for the most part. You're talking about the likes of Yuriorkis Gamboa, Jorge Linares, Jojo Diaz, George Kambosos Jr., Vasyl Lomachenko, Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, and Brian Norman Jr. That's 8 world champions, or former world champions, that Devin Haney's beaten. Devin Haney, I might add, was also the youngest ever fighter to become an undisputed champion in the 4-belt era at just 23 years old. Meanwhile, Conor Benn, his 2 best wins have come against let's be honest, a washed up former lightweight champion of the world, a 37-year-old Chris Algieri, who at that time when he fought Conor Benn, I think that was back in 2021, was coming out of semi-retirement. A fight as well that I might add that was shrouded in controversy because it was after that fight that Conor Benn later failed a drugs test. You could argue that Conor Benn's best win was against Chris Eubank Jr. Now, let's be honest, a lot of people are saying that Chris Eubank Jr. was severely weight drained for that fight. Now, don't get me wrong, that Eubank Jr. win was a good win for Conor Benn. He boxed very well on the night. I did a video on this channel congratulating Conor Benn, giving him props for it. But come on, let's have it right. A lot of people said that Chris Eubank Jr. was severely weight drained. A lot of people also said that the fight stunk. A lot of people said that the fight wasn't entertaining. I mean, just go look at what British heavyweight Dave Allen, who was doing commentary on TV on the night for that fight, go look at what he said about that fight. And he was far from the only one that was scathing about that fight. So come on now. The difference between Conor Benn's career and Devin Haney's career is like night and day. Conor Benn has yet to prove himself. Devin Haney has already created boxing history. Big, big, big difference. And by the way, is this the same Eddie Hearn that used to promote Devin Haney? I think he was. Back in 2019 to 2021, I believe. Eddie Hearn promoted Devin Haney. And I seem to recall that at that time, he was quite impressed with Devin Haney and used to wax lyrical about his performances. I think he said, and I'm pretty sure I've got the quote here, America has a superstar on their hands. He also said about Devin Haney, it's like watching an artist draw a beautiful picture. So, you know, that was before Devin Haney left Eddie Hearn, incidentally, to pursue an undisputed world title shot with George Kambosos, which of course Devin won and created history. So he left Eddie Hearn because he didn't think that Eddie Hearn was delivering the fight that he wanted him to take. He went out there on his own steam, him and his dad. They got the fight, they won the fight and created history. So, yeah. So my question to Eddie Hearn is, what you said about Devin Haney previously, about him being a superstar, about like him being an artist drawing a beautiful picture, I've got to ask Eddie Hearn, in the light of what he's saying now, were you lying then or are you lying now? Which one is it? You know, so come on, bro, put some respect on the man's name. He may not be everyone's cup of tea. I get that. Devin has said some rather foolish things in the past. A lot of boxers do. Conor Benn said some pretty ridiculous things as well, to be honest. They all do it. But what you can't deny is that this guy is a very good fighter. And for you to be out there, you and Conor Benn, trying to trash the guy, ridicule his performance, I thought that was poor. Poor on both of yours part. Put some respect on the guy's name, man. I mean, how about you and Conor Benn acting so damn arrogant and entitled? How about you guys just put the lid on that for a minute, man? I mean, yes, Devin Haney's boxing style might not be to everyone's taste. And like I said, I was highly critical of his performance against Ramirez back in May, when, to be fair, Devin did stink the joint out. But Devin's performance at the weekend against Brian Norman was an excellent performance, and he deserves praise, not ridicule. And even some of Devin Haney's biggest enemies in boxing, you're talking about the likes of Ryan Garcia and Regis Prograis, Shakur Stevens, all guys who have had previous beefs with Devin Haney. They all came out and congratulated Devin Haney on his performance. But unfortunately, Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn decided to take the low road. And for me, their criticism was crass, it was ignorant, it was childish, and it appears to be motivated either by promotional rivalry, or I think maybe Eddie and Conor are using deflection tactics. And when I say deflection tactics, what I mean by that is that I think they saw Devin look really impressive. He comprehensively outboxed and dropped Brian Norman Jr. And Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn, deep down, they know that on that type of form, Devin Haney would be an extremely difficult assignment for Conor Benn. But that's my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think. Please put it in the comments. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about it. That's all for me. Appreciate you watching. Take care. Catch you on the next one. I'm out.